What is up, tadpoles, and welcome to Kosher. I've been wanting to make this video for a while, but these things take time, and these kind of videos have a lot of editing, but I finally got around to it, and today I will answer the question of how many Pokemon are actually kosher. I am aware that Kaihatsu did a video similar to this, but as an Orthodox Jew myself, I have a little bit more of a real understanding of what kosher really means. So, what exactly is kosher? First, we have to talk about the Torah for a second. The Torah is the holy scripture given to Moses on Mount Sinai to the Israelites in the desert after they left slavery in Egypt. There are two parts to it. One is the written Torah, which is also called the Chumash, derived from the word chamesh, meaning 5 in Hebrew, because of its 5 books. And two, the oral Torah, which was passed down from generation to generation, eventually being written down in what is now known as the Mishnah, because the rabbis feared people would forget it. In total, there are 613 mitzvot, or rules, to put simply, that make up Jewish halacha, literally, the way. This is a very simplified explanation of it, and I'm not going to go into it, so if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I'd be happy to answer them. Now we can get on to what kosher actually is. Kosher, the verb, or kashrut, the noun, come from the Hebrew word kasher, literally meaning fit to eat. It is the set of rules Jews follow about what they are allowed to eat and how they have to treat animals with respect when they slaughter them for food. So you have to find a kosher animal, slaughter it properly, and salt it, among other things, in order for it to be fit to eat. So, which Pokemon are kosher based on the animals they are inspired by? First of all, let us rule out some obvious categories of Pokemon which the rules of kashrut don't apply. Kashrut only applies to animals, and therefore you can eat all plants. So Pokemon like the Sarina line and Delmise are perfectly fine. Next we can rule out inedible Pokemon made of rocks and metal, things like Geodude, Duraludon, and Chingling. Dragons and fairies do not exist in this world, and therefore the laws of kashrut would never apply, so they're out too. You can't eat ghosts because they don't exist either, so they can't count, and humanoids are just, no, not kosher. Now we get to fungi, and just like plants, you can eat all fungi without a problem. I personally don't like mushrooms, but fungus looks real tasty. Finally, we get to animals, and we will be starting with bugs. All bugs are not kosher, except for a few species of grasshoppers that are mentioned in the Torah. It is believed that this was because in times of plague, when locusts would sweep the Middle East and eat all of the crops, there would literally be nothing to eat but the locusts themselves, and therefore God permitted us to eat the locusts. Nobody actually knows of the exact species that are kosher today, but the Jews of Yemen believe that they have held the tradition and still know which ones are allowed. On to mammals now, and this is where it gets more straightforward. There are two rules when determining whether a mammal is kosher. It, number one, has to have cloven hooves that are split all the way through, and number two, it has to chew its cud. The only animals that really fall under this list are members of the ruminant family, things like cows, sheep, deer, and goats. Anything that does not have both signs is not kosher. With that said, the Pokemon that would be kosher are Tauros, Miltank, Stantler, Girafarig, yes, giraffes are kosher, Deerling, Sawsbuck, Bouffalant, Skiddo, Gogo, Wooloo, Dubwool, Mareep, Flaffy, Terrakion, Virizion, Cobalion, and Xerneas. Ampharos could technically be a sheep also, and therefore kosher, but it seems to be more of a dragon based on its Japanese name and mega evolution. Next are fish, and just like mammals, there are also two signs of a kosher fish. It has to have number 1 fins and number 2 scales. Very simple, right? Good. The problem in the Pokemon world, though, is that evolution is really metamorphosis, so a lot of kosher fish Pokemon evolve into non-kosher fish Pokemon. The list of fully kosher fish Pokemon are Goldeen, Seaking, Arrokuda, Barraskewda, Basculin, Finneon, Lumineon, and Wishiwashi. And then there are fish who are kosher themselves, but their evolutions are not. They are Magikarp, Remoraid, Carvana, and Feebas. Finally, we get to birds, and the rules with birds are... there are really none. The only thing we have about birds is that there is a list in the Torah of kinds of birds that we are not allowed to eat. The rabbis have argued that there are signs to a kosher bird like the egg shape or the back claw on its foot, or that we are only allowed to eat non-predatory birds, but there really has been no consensus. So, although most species of birds are technically kosher, due to our lack of knowledge about many of the bird species, in practice, only birds for which there is a reliable tradition are eaten. Example of kosher birds are the domestic species of chickens, geese, ducks, turkeys, and pigeons/doves. So the Pokemon birds that would be kosher are Golduck, Psyduck, Farfetch'd, both forms, Sirfetch'd, Pidgey, Pidgeotto, Pidgeot, Torchic, Combuskin, Blaziken, Pidove, Tranquil, Unpheasant, Ducklet, and Swanna. So, in total, out of 898 known Pokemon species, only 44 would be considered kosher. That is not a lot. And you can imagine what it is like in real life. And I have to deal with all of that, and I'm celiac.